They laughed at her when she walked in. Black coat, empty pockets, alone. The kind of woman men don't take seriously. Until she reached the counter and asked for bullets. The cold followed her inside. Not just the air, something else. Something that didn't belong to the room. The gunsmith's shop was small, low ceiling, walls lined with steel and wood, oil, dust. Men who had nowhere else to be. 3 of them by the stove, laughing. Too loud, too comfortable. The kind of men who mistake noise for power. Behind the counter, Grimes. Soft hands, hard eyes. The kind that counted coins before people. Kaida Wren didn't look at any of them twice. She didn't need to. One glance was enough. You learn to read a room before it reads you. She stepped forward, slow, measured. No wasted movement, no hesitation. She placed the canvas pouch on the counter. Light. Almost empty. The sound it made, barely there. A box of .44. Her voice quiet, flat. Not asking, stating. That was the first mistake they noticed. Grimes smirked, poked the pouch with one finger. That won't cover it. His eyes moved over her, slow, insulting. Maybe you got something else to trade? The men behind her laughed, louder now, closer. She didn't react, didn't turn, didn't blink. Noise, nothing more. Her hand moved inside her coat, slow enough for everyone to follow, fast enough to matter. Grimes leaned forward, greed already there. Let's see it. Her hand came out, not with a purse, a coin, silver, clean, wrong. Too clean for someone like her. She placed it on the counter, sharp, final. Enough. More than enough. The room shifted, just slightly. Grimes saw it, didn't like it. Where'd you get that? I earned it. No explanation. No story, just truth. Flat, cold. He hesitated, bit the coin, listened to it, satisfied himself, then turned, slow, making her wait, control, cheap, predictable. Men like him always needed the last second. He came back, dropped the box on the counter, too far from her reach. There. A beat. Now get out. Her hand moved, reaching. He slammed his palm down on the box, stopping her. I changed my mind. The smile returned, ugly. The price went up. His eyes flicked to her hat. Hat covers the rest. The men stepped closer, not circling, but thinking about it. That was the second mistake. Her hand stopped mid-air, not moving forward, just waiting. Silence stretched, tight, heavy. Then she moved. Not fast, not dramatic, precise. Her hand dropped and came back up with the Colt. Worn, used, perfect. It settled in her grip like it belonged there, because it did. She didn't aim wildly, didn't threaten, didn't speak. She simply leveled it between Grimes' eyes. The room froze. Laughter died instantly. One of the men took a step back. Another didn't breathe. Grimes stared, sweat forming before he understood why. "Now hold on." "My hat." A beat. "And my bullets." No volume, no anger, just certainty. Final. The hammer clicked back. Loud. Too loud. The sound of decision. Grimes' hand lifted. Slow. Careful. He slid the box forward, then the hat, his fingers shaking. She never looked away, not once. Her free hand moved, collected both. Clean, efficient. The gun never dropped. The door creaked open behind her. Cold air rushed in. No one turned, except one man, Silas Crow. He stepped inside and stopped. Not because of the gun, not because of the tension, because of her. The way she stood, the way she held it, balanced, controlled, certain. Not a victim, not trouble, a professional. He didn't speak, didn't interfere, just watched, understanding something no one else in the room could see. She backed toward the door. One step, then another. Gun steady, eyes locked. No rush, no fear. She reached the threshold, paused, just for a fraction. Their eyes met. Hers, dark, unreadable. His, clear, still. Recognition. Nothing said, everything understood. She stepped out into the cold. Gone, as quietly as she arrived. The room breathed again. Too loud, too messy, wrong. Silas didn't stay, didn't speak to anyone, didn't look at Grimes. He turned and walked back out into the storm. Because some things, once seen, can't be ignored. And some people aren't meant to be left behind. A mile out, the town disappeared. Not slowly, completely. Snow erased everything. Tracks, sound, mistakes, except the ones you chose to follow. Silas Crow didn't hurry, didn't call out, didn't announce himself. He followed the tracks. Small, precise, unbroken, not wandering, not drifting, deliberate, like everything else about her. The wind picked up, cutting across the open ground, trying to bury the path, but it wasn't fast enough. Not yet. He adjusted his coat, kept moving. Most people run from storms. She walked into one. He saw the horse first, lean, still, standing with its back to the wind, smart, trained, the kind that survives because it knows when not to move. Then her, huddled low beside a rock outcrop. Fire, small, barely holding, just enough to stay alive. Not enough to last the night. She didn't reach for her gun, not yet, but her hand rested close, always close. She watched him approach, measured the distance, the angle, the time it would take to draw. She had already decided how this would end, if it had to. Silas stopped, far enough to respect the line, close enough to speak without raising his voice. "The storm's getting worse." No urgency, no pressure, just fact. The wind answered for him, howling across the ridge. She didn't respond, didn't move, didn't trust words. Good. He continued. "My place isn't far." A beat. "Fire's better." Another. "Roof holds." Simple, practical, no promise, no persuasion. An option. Her eyes stayed on him, searching, not for kindness, for weakness, for the angle, for the part that didn't match the rest. She didn't find one. That was new. Why? One word, sharp, clean. He didn't hesitate. "Because dying out here is a waste." A beat. "And you don't strike me as someone who wastes anything." Silence again. The fire flickered, struggled, failed. She looked at it, then back at him. She already knew the answer. This wasn't trust. It was math. Storm, fire, distance, survival. She stood, in one motion, fluid, controlled, brushed snow from her coat, kicked dirt over the fire, ending it clean. No hesitation, no attachment. Decision made. She moved to the horse, mounted, effortless. Her hand rested on the reins, the other near the holster, always. Silas turned, didn't wait for agreement, didn't look back. He started walking, through the snow, through the wind. If she followed, she followed. Hoofsteps behind him, soft, measured. There. Of course. They moved in silence. No conversation, no questions. Just distance closing, the storm swallowing everything else. Time lost meaning. Only direction mattered. The cabin appeared late, almost too late. Low, hidden, pressed into the land like it didn't want to be found. He reached the door, opened it, stepped inside. Didn't gesture, didn't offer, just space. She dismounted, tied the horse without asking, entered, closed the door behind her. The storm vanished, cut off. Silence again, but different now, contained. The fire was already alive, small but real, warmth building slowly through the room. She stood near the door, snow melting from her coat, water hitting the floorboards. Her eyes moved, mapping the space, fireplace, table, one bed, two chairs, one exit. Simple, defensible. He moved without speaking, added wood to the fire, set a pot near the flame. Routine, practiced, safe. A place that had held before. He gestured slightly. Stew. One word, enough. She didn't move immediately, waited, measured. Then, slowly, she unbuckled her gun belt, hung it near the door. Not surrender, temporary peace. She stepped forward, took the bowl, sat back to the wall, facing him, always facing. They ate in silence, fire crackling, storm screaming outside. Two worlds, separated by wood and flame. And something else. He watched her, not obvious, not intrusive, but constant. The way she ate, slow, controlled, not starving, not greedy, measured, like everything she did. Discipline, earned. She finished, set the bowl down, clean, no waste, no movement wasted. Her hand rested lightly on the table, not relaxed, ready, always ready. He leaned back slightly, studied her, then, for the first time, he spoke more than necessary. "You've done this before." Not a question, a statement. She didn't answer, didn't deny it, didn't confirm it, just looked at him, even, steady. Answer enough. Outside, the storm grew louder. Inside, the silence deepened. Not empty, not cold. Something else. Shared. Two strangers, same rules, same understanding. This wasn't shelter anymore. It was alignment. And once that happens, everything changes. Everything changes the moment two people stop pretending. The storm held them there. Not for hours, for days. 2, maybe 3. Time blurred. The world outside, gone. Reduced to wind and white noise. Inside, movement. Quiet. Efficient. Shared. No roles. No questions. Just work. She woke first. Always. Before the fire died. Before the cold returned. She fed the embers. Measured the wood. Adjusted the heat. Not guessing. Knowing. He noticed. Of course he did. The way she never used too much. Never too little. The way she moved like she had already learned the cost of mistakes. Discipline like that is never taught gently. He stepped outside each morning, fed the horses, checked the wind, measured the sky. She followed once, didn't ask, just picked up the axe, started splitting wood. Clean strikes, not strong, but precise. Every swing landed where it needed to. No wasted force, no hesitation. That told him more than anything she could say. They didn't speak much, didn't need to. A glance was enough, a shift of movement, a pause. Understanding built in silence, stronger than words. That afternoon, the storm eased. Not gone, but weaker. Enough to hear something else. Faint, distant, wrong. Silas stopped mid-step, head tilted slightly, listening. She did the same without being told. That was new. She wasn't just reacting, she was anticipating. Hoofbeats, far but coming. Not one, more. 3, maybe 4. Heavy, uncontrolled, not careful, not quiet. Men who thought they owned the outcome. Silas moved first, not rushed, not panicked, deliberate. He crossed the room, lifted the rifle from the wall, checked it once, then looked at her. No explanation, no instruction, just awareness. She was already moving, gun belt in hand, fast, clean. The revolver settled at her hip like it had never left. She checked the cylinder, spun it, closed it. Ready. The cabin changed, not physically, but in purpose. From shelter to position. He moved to one side of the door. She took the other. Not told, not directed, placed perfectly, like they had done this before, together. The riders came into view, dark shapes through the thinning snow. One in front, louder, angrier. Grimes. His voice carried ahead of him, sharp. "I know you're in there." A laugh. Drunk, confident. "Send her out." A beat. "And we might leave you breathing." Silence inside. No answer. No movement. Let them come closer. Let them commit. A shot rang out. Wood splintered near the door. Not accurate, just loud, just stupid. She didn't flinch, didn't blink. Her eyes stayed locked on the thin line of light beneath the door, watching shadows, tracking movement, waiting for the right second. Another shot, closer. The latch cracked slightly. Silas shifted, barely. She saw it, adjusted with him. No words. Timing. The door burst inward, violent, loud. Wrong. A man stepped through, gun raised. Too slow. She fired once, clean, center mass. He dropped instantly. No hesitation, no follow-up. Already moving. Silas fired next. Through the doorway. A second man screamed, fell back into the snow. Chaos outside. Shouting. Confusion. They didn't rush it. Didn't chase. Held position. Controlled. Professionals don't waste advantage. Another figure moved. Hesitated. Then turned. Ran. The sound of hooves retreating, fast, unplanned, broken. Fear finally arrived. Grimes remained, outside, breathing hard, anger louder than sense. "You think this ends here?" No answer, no reaction. Silas waited, still, rifle steady. Grimes stepped forward, too far, too exposed. Silas fired. Once. Silence followed. Complete, final. The wind returned, soft now, almost gentle, like nothing had happened. Inside they didn't move, didn't speak, didn't rush. Let the moment settle. Let the noise leave. Let the truth remain. This wasn't luck. This wasn't survival. This was skill. Shared. Understood. She lowered the gun, slowly. Not relaxed, not careless, controlled. He did the same. Their eyes met. Not surprise, not relief. Something else. Confirmation. Two people. Same fight. Same rules. Same outcome. And once you find that, you don't walk away. You don't walk away from something you recognize. The silence after a fight is never empty. It's measured, counted, checked. They stayed where they were, guns lowered, but not away. Listening, waiting for anything that didn't belong. Nothing came. No footsteps, no second wave, no sound but wind moving through broken wood. She moved first. Of course she did. Toward the door. Careful, controlled. She didn't step outside immediately. Just enough to see bodies still. Dark shapes in the snow. No movement. No threat. Finished. She stepped out, gun still in hand, checked each one. Distance, angle, breath. Nothing. Clean. Silas followed, rifle low, eyes scanning the ridge. Not the dead, the living. Always the living. The ones who come after. Grimes lay near the door, face turned sideways, snow catching in his hair. The arrogance gone, replaced by stillness. Final. She looked at him. No emotion, no satisfaction, no regret. Just result. Silas watched her. Not the body, her. The way she processed it, the way she didn't. That told him everything. She had done this before, more than once. They won't stop. His voice low. Not warning, statement. She nodded. Already there, already understood. More will come. A beat. They always do. Silence. Agreement. Shared. No illusion. They turned back to the cabin. The damage clearer now. Door split. Window shattered. Cold pouring in. The place compromised. No longer defensible. She stepped inside, looked once. Everything she needed to know already there. She moved to her gear, packed quickly, efficient. Only what mattered, nothing extra. Silas watched, didn't stop her, didn't question. He was doing the same. Rifle, ammunition, water, maps. Not retreat, relocation. He moved to the back wall, to a place that didn't look like anything, just stone, cold, still. His hand reached out, pushed aside a frozen layer of brush and wood, revealing something hidden. A narrow opening, dark, tight. Impossible to notice if you didn't know. She stopped, watched, didn't ask. Of course, nothing about him had been simple. This way. He stepped inside. No hesitation, no explanation. She followed. One step, then another. The passage closed behind them. Swallowed the light. Only the lantern remained, faint, flickering. A path most people wouldn't take. The air changed. Colder at first, then deeper, heavier, still. The tunnel curved, rose slowly. Stone walls pressing close, each step echoing softly, measured, intentional. She stayed just behind him, not crowding, not falling back. Perfect distance. Trust, but not blindly. Light appeared ahead, faint, growing. The passage widened, opened. He stepped through, stopped. She followed and saw it. Not a cabin, not survival. Something else. A valley hidden between stone walls, shielded, protected, unreachable from the outside. Smoke rising from multiple chimneys, structured movement below. Fences, paths, order, scale. Not chance. Built, deliberate, controlled. She didn't speak, didn't react, but her eyes moved, connecting it. The calm, the discipline, the precision. Everything about him made sense now. He hadn't been hiding weakness. He had been hiding power. He stepped beside her, not ahead, not above, beside, equal ground. This is mine. No pride, no explanation, just fact. She looked at him, then back at the valley, then back again. Understanding, complete. No deception, just layers. The cabin, a pause, is where I see what people do when they think there's nothing to gain. Silence. Wind moving softly above them. She held his gaze, steady, unchanged. You were watching. Not accusation, recognition. He nodded once. Most fail. A beat. You didn't. Not praise, confirmation. She looked back at the valley, at the scale of it, the structure, the control. Then at him, at the man who had stood beside her, not because he had to, but because he chose to. Same reason she stayed. The silence stretched, not uncomfortable, not uncertain. Settled. the kind that only comes after something is proven, and nothing left to question. Nothing left to question, only what comes next. The valley didn't feel real. Not at first. Too ordered, too controlled, too intact. After everything outside, this place felt like a different world. Not softer, stronger, built to endure. She stepped forward, down the narrow path cut into the rock. Careful footing, measured pace. Not hesitation, assessment. Silas walked beside her, not leading, not behind, equal. Below, movement continued. Men working timber lines, horses hauling weight, structures placed with purpose. Nothing wasted, nothing loose, everything connected. Control, on a scale most men never touch. She stopped halfway down, turned slightly, looked back at him. Not at the valley, at him. "You built this?" Her voice quiet, not impressed, not doubting, just confirming. He shook his head once. "My father started it. A beat. I made it hold." Simple. Accurate. That mattered more. She nodded, accepted it. No further question, because she already understood. You don't build something like this without losing things along the way. They reached the bottom, the ground here firm, protected from the wind, warmer. Men nearby looked up briefly, not surprised, not curious, just aware. They saw her, measured her, then went back to work. Accepted, or at least not rejected. Silas stopped near the center, turned to her fully now. No distance, no layers left. This place, a pause, doesn't survive on numbers. His eyes steady, clear. It survives on who stands. Silence, heavy, true. The only rule that matters. He studied her, not as a stranger, not as a risk, as someone who had already answered every question he cared about. You don't need to stay. Not a test, not pressure, truth. You can take what you need. A beat, and go. Wind moved lightly across the valley, carrying the weight of that choice. Freedom, real, not given often. She didn't answer immediately, didn't look at him. She looked at the valley, at the work, at the structure, then past it, back toward the ridge, toward the storm, toward the world that waited outside. The world that takes, the world that tests, the world that doesn't stop. She turned back, met his eyes, steady, certain. I don't take. A beat. I stand. Silence. Now. Final. Not a decision being made, a truth being stated. Something shifted in him, not visible, but real. Recognition complete. No doubt left. No distance remaining. He gave a single nod, small, enough. That was all he needed. The valley moved around them, work continuing, life continuing, uninterrupted, because this was built to last, not on walls, not on secrecy, on people who don't break. She stepped forward, not into shelter, not into safety, into position beside him, where she had already stood before either of them named it. Not saved, not taken, chosen. Above them, the ridge stood silent. Behind it, the storm still moved, still waiting, still searching. But down here, it didn't matter, because for the first time, she wasn't surviving it alone. And that changes everything.